right, welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 410. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. It's been a week since I had COVID. This is my post-COVID voice. I'm still testing positive, though, so still staying at home. I'll do a test tomorrow and see how that goes. Adrian Petty's here.
Hi.
How you doing?
Took a drink right after I said that. God damn. I'm doing good. Besides your COVID, how are things with you?
I'm feeling pretty good. It kind of just dropped off all of a sudden. So I had like 4.5 really bad days, and then one day it was just kind of fine. And it was just like, oh, there's a cough, and you know, that was about it. And then that's kind of how I felt the last like 3 days now.
For me, it was yeah, I think I talked to you about this before, but I just don't ever get sick traditionally. Like I in the last 5 or 6 years, I'd only been sick with the traditional cold once, and I was only down and out for like a day. And then all through COVID, and I was working and I was in COVID wards and COVID rooms with patients. Even earlier in the summer, I had found out before they were tested positive, 2 people who had COVID at the time coughed in my face, and I still didn't get it.
Look at Mr. Perfect Genes over here.
But then I ended up getting it for 2 days or 3 days, a couple weeks, maybe a month ago now. All right, I don't remember. But I only had one morning where I was like down and out. So I was like, I tested positive on Friday. Saturday morning, I felt kind of rough, and then by Saturday evening, I was pretty much back to normal.
I'm curious though. I only had 3 shots, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I had like ample opportunity to get my 4th. And so it's been a while since my 3rd, and I had a pretty bad 4.5 days. I'm just wondering if that 4th would have, helped me through that a little easier.
Maybe. Gotta wait 3 months now to get the.
I know, and then I gotta wait 3 months, so that kind of sucks. But Tim, I got Tim Spence here. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm here too. I'm not sick. I haven't been sick for months. As long as we're talking about our general health recently.
You don't have a giant ticker, like a minute, hour, day clock on your wall?
No, I use one of those like workshop signs where it's been like X days without incident kind of thing. I just have like X days without being sick. No, I never used to get sick either. As a kid, I got sick probably just as much as any other kid, but like then for years I like hardly ever got sick. I would sometimes get a little bit of a cold at the beginning of like school season because it's when all the kids like come back together, but that was like pretty much it. And then in my like early 20s, I would get sick occasionally, and it would just like hit really hard. Like I would get sick and I would get really sick for like a day, and then I'd be fine afterwards.
Wow. I'm leaving for a cottage. This is going to come out on Sunday, but we're recording on Friday. But Saturday morning, I'm leaving for cottage. But I've spent the last 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with a healthcare manufacturing company. Their reps and I went across 4 hospitals, and we had to enter every single hospital room at 4 hospital sites to audit hospital beds, because we need to figure out the ages of them, because we're in the process of replacing them. And I'm probably entered 40 plus COVID rooms. And I was the only one to enter COVID rooms, because the company, the manufacturing companies, their people weren't mask fit tested properly for the N95s, and I was, so I became the default person to walk into COVID rooms.
Patient zero.
Yeah. And it's funny because my brother listens to this podcast, and he'll listen to it on Sunday when we're at the cottage. He'll hear about this, and he'll be at the cottage with me. Hi, Giuliano.
That's great. Okay. All right, let's hop into our top stories for this week. Microsoft bashes Watch Dogs' critiques of its Activision Blizzard takeover bid. This is from GameSpot. Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard has come under scrutiny from multiple competition regulators across the globe. And in the UK, the Competition and Markets Authority has decided to begin a second phase of inquiry into the deal. The CMA has expressed a number of concerns related to the $68.7 billion acquisition, which it says could have a major impact on Sony if Microsoft decides to make Activision Blizzard content exclusive to Xbox. Microsoft has dismissed those claims and added that the CMA has adopted Sony's complaints without doing an appropriate level of critical review. According to Microsoft via Games Industry, there were more than 280 first-party and third-party exclusive titles available on PlayStation, almost 5 times more than what Xbox had locked down. And it pointed out that Sony, quote, losing access to one title, end quote, is not a credible argument. Let's just start there. So Microsoft calculates 280 first and third party exclusive titles on PlayStation, 5 times more than Xbox has.
Did it break down of those 280? How many were first and how many were third, or how many were second party? Even
I don't currently have that information
Okay.
though, but yeah, what do you guys think about Sony having 5 times the amount of exclusives, and yet Xbox gets all the hate anytime they make a single game exclusive?
I'll let Tim answer while I mute so I can sneeze.
If I had to guess, I would say that just because this is entirely speculation, but if I had to guess, I would say it's because in the last generation, the PS4 and Xbox One, the vast majority of players were on PlayStation. They weren't on Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people became like air quotes like PlayStation gamers. And so they don't criticize PlayStation, they only criticize Xbox.
Right.
And I think that has carried through to this generation, where I think still the majority of people play PlayStation over Xbox internationally. And so they are always going to be trying to bully Xbox because it's always an us versus them. You can't like both. You have to be one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
That they bully Xbox because they're a PlayStation fan.
I'm also curious what the quality of these titles are. Just because you have 280 and 5 times more exclusive games does not mean they're all great games, right?
Yeah, but that probably wouldn't be a factor in because quality is subjective, so
yeah,
that should not be brought into it. But
and a lot of these games are probably Japanese games too, I imagine.
Oh yeah, like a lot of those series that have like 16 entries, all with slightly varied titles and have a decimal in there somehow.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was a pretty interesting that the disparity in exclusives there. So yeah, I guess what they're arguing is even though they're getting the handful of Activision Blizzard games, it's like Sony still has, I guess, some market power on exclusives.
It's very much looking like Sony's desperately trying to stop this. They seem to be incredibly scared about losing Call of Duty
because they probably make millions off of it.
Yeah,
right?
And that is, as a consumer, this is hilarious because it only benefits us. But well, it benefits us right now. If it does actually, if Sony's concerns Sony's predictions actually come true and it does create an imbalance, and then Microsoft does end up dominating the marketplace, then it will eventually be bad for us. But it almost seems like I visualize this as like two neighbors sharing a property line, and they're bickering over where the property line should fall
and arguing before the city council.
Yeah. But like, how do you guys feel about this? Like, do you think it will create an imbalance, or because like you're a fanboy regardless, Ryan,
of Sony?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a PC, I have an Xbox. If I really wanted to play Call of Duty and it was only on Xbox, I'd play it there. It doesn't really bother me too much. But I know there's a lot of people who don't have multiple consoles. And I'm curious how many people there are that only play Call of Duty and how many, have it on the side.
Yeah, I would love to see those numbers, because there are those people, and every once in a while when I still walk into GameStop, and Tim, you could probably attest this, that there are just people who come into the store and pick the brains of the employees and don't do any sort of industry research or read reviews. They buy based on eye level shelf and employee reviews of products.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a massive population that does that. So
yeah, it is kind of funny to, because like we're kind of all invested in it and know what's going on, but I'm sure there are quite a few people who just kind of buy Call of Duty because it's the big Call of Duty game, They don't actually think about it being exclusive to any platform or anything.
Well, think about like the things that you buy that you just go with what's popular, right? And you're not necessarily like invested in it. You're like, oh, I just like I drive this car because I've heard this brand is good, or like I drink
Mm-hmm.
this coffee because it's the popular brand of coffee. Like, but yeah, like anything, the kind of the connoisseurs, the people that are more invested in it, are going to have a more like itty gritty or the nitty gritty details on like the more involved ins and outs of whatever it is, right? So
Yeah.
if you like if you go to the mechanic and the mechanic's like, oh yeah, you've got this problem with your car, do this to fix it. And then you're like, okay, I'll just go with what they say, right? So if you go to the
Yep.
game store, you don't know anything about games, and the guy behind the counter says, yeah, this is popular, then you're like, all right, I'm gonna buy that.
So Microsoft actually had a little statement here. They said, quote, in short, Sony is not vulnerable to a hypothetical foreclosure strategy, and the referral decision incorrectly relies on self-serving statements by Sony, which significantly exaggerate the importance of Call of Duty to it and neglect to account for Sony's clear ability to competitively respond. While Sony may not welcome increased competition, it has the ability to adapt and compete. Gamers will ultimately benefit from this increased competition and choice, end quote. There's also other stories that Microsoft was kind of, they had to admit that Sony was bigger currently in terms of gaming, and that they were like almost too big to fail, even if Call of Duty left them. And so this wasn't like a threat to competition.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm super interested to see how this plays out. But like as a Sony, because like for me, I don't have any loyalty to any one brand.
Yeah.
I was PlayStation and PlayStation 2. Well, actually, I was Nintendo, Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I skipped N64 altogether, and then I went to PlayStation 2, and then I jumped to 360, and then I went to PS4, and then I said, you know what? I don't want any of these. I want one system. So that's when I started doing PCs. And
And
then,
you very much dislike the PS3.
oh my God, the PS3 is a terrible console. It is a terrible fucking console. And like the only reason I do like my PS3 because it is the launch one. It has the bigger bottom that is the PS2. So
The George Foreman grill.
yeah, George Foreman, the grill sitting or laying down and the fridge standing up, depending on how you orientate it. So the upside is I between my PS5 and my PS3, I now have two boxes which can play any PlayStation disc. Like that is
Oh, right.
that's
Yeah.
that's great. But holy shit, the PS3 is a bad console. But for me, I will jump back and forth between one any one.
I mean, you still play your Wii U.
I know my gamepad's right here on my desk.
That's
It's
crazy.
yeah. And then the actual I don't even have it hooked up to the TV. The system itself is underneath a like a shelf, like it's just hidden away up against the wall. So I'll just play at my desk sometimes or in bed. But I'm curious to know if Xbox or Microsoft talked about their break into the PC market as like a counter argument for anything.
How so?
Well, because Sony has now gotten a taste of that PC money and that PC market. So now they seem to be bringing things in. It's like, I wonder if Microsoft used that to say, hey, well, like they are adapting and they can figure out certain market strategies and, market research and go on to competing platforms. So there isn't a reason why they can't put their games on our system to try to also compete and get sales back. So,
man, and you know what? Call of Duty isn't really on the Switch, right? It's not hurting Nintendo any, it not being on Nintendo platforms.
yeah, Nintendo's obviously in their own little world.
But I'm just saying Sony can survive without Call of Duty. And will likely survive without them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the worry is just how big of a merger this is. You have the biggest game publisher, joining with the second or maybe even third biggest game distributor, game platform, game console maker. I think they're just worried about, these massive companies because it's not just Xbox. It's Microsoft that's really merging with them. So it's a $1 trillion company merging with multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
So
But
it is curious to see how this will all play out.
I'm more curious to see if like just to the public, because technically this hasn't gone through, won't go through till summer 2023. But if it does go through, I'm curious to see more so the Blizzard Activision PR and the optics to see if their image gets cleaned up. See if Microsoft's kind of just bigger name can kind of collapse that whole, weed those bad seeds out, get them out of Activision Blizzard, figure out a settlement with anyone who is going after them in a civil suit, and then kind of just get things rolling again on a proper corporate structure and get shit going again.
They just got more allegations, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, I threw that in there as well. They keep on coming out. So that's what I'm actually really curious about, to see if the Blizzard that Blizzard, because that Blizzard charm, that je ne sais quoi that came with like that name and all Diablo and Warcraft and
brand's broken.
It's broken. And I'm curious to see if Microsoft will just kind of absorb those properties independently and just say, well, this is just Overwatch and this is just Diablo, and these are just titles now under the Microsoft banner, or if they're going to try to salvage and make Blizzard whole again. Because there was a time when you looked at that Blizzard branding, that font and that logo, and there was just like a warm fuzzy feeling about like, these are fantastic games, and they know what they're doing, and they love making these things, and I have fun playing them. And then they started, violating certain,
basic human rights,
state and federal laws, and then they.
I mean, they didn't start. They had been doing it. They had been doing it.
Yeah, they had been found out, and then, they made some, not bad, but rather questionable business choices when it comes to monetization and free to play versus stuff like that. So I'm really curious to see what a Microsoft owned Activision or Blizzard looks like 2 years from now or 3 years from now.
Yeah, that's if the deal goes through. All right,
it likely will.
I think so too. All right, let's move on to our next story here. Nvidia is unlaunching the 12 gigabyte RTX 4080 after criticism. This is from IGN. Nvidia shared the news in a blog post saying the RTX 4080 12 gigabyte is a fantastic graphics card, but it's not named right. Having two GPUs with the 4080 designation is confusing. So we're pressing the unlaunch button. That was their word, unlaunch button on the 4080 12 gigabyte. The RTX 4080 16 gigabyte is amazing and on track to delight gamers everywhere on November 16th. End quote. The 12 gigabyte RTX 4080 was set to launch alongside the 16 gigabyte model for $899, but was going to do so with less RT, Tensor, and CUDA cores than the more expensive model. The 16 gigabyte model will launch at $1199 and will be the only 4080 model to launch on November 16th, meaning those looking for a cheaper option will have to wait until Nvidia reveals its plan to relaunch the 12 gigabyte iteration. I thought this was odd. I don't even know if you guys knew about this, but that they had a 4080 model, one with 12 and one with 16, and that's all they kind of said about it. But once it got into like reviewers' hands or they saw the spec sheets on them, there was a lot more different between the two models. And I just want to know how you guys feel about that from like a marketing perspective, where it has the same name, but there's more differences than appears.
I'm not going to lose sleep over it, I'll tell you that. But I'm sure at some point, if I was building a PC and I was trying to figure out the difference, I would be confused, and then coming to you guys to say, hey, what the hell, which one should I get? And then you guys would be figuring it out.
Oh, well, I know. But hopefully the next couple of months anyway, once I start looking into that stuff again.
Well, you're looking into a new card now.
I have been, yeah.
And why are you choosing the 30 series over the 40?
Price point for sure.
Price, yeah.
I think it's just because like I don't need to be on the leading edge. For me, it's like what I've got is good enough for my use and my like work, right?
Yeah.
But it is kind of reaching that point where like now I'm not able to run games on ultra anymore. And not that I like super care about graphics, but it is nice if you can run a game on ultra to run it on ultra, obviously.
Hmm.
So, and like I don't have 4K monitors. I've sworn by 1080p for years still at this point.
Yeah, 1080.
And
Not even 1440, eh?
well, because for me, like consistent frame rate over anything.
Mm.
Like I don't care if a game runs smoothly, that's far and beyond better to me than if it runs at like, you know, like 30 FPS, but it's at 4K and it's got ray tracing and like DLSS, AI boosted fucking
Yeah.
rendering and post processing, any of that shit. I don't care as long as it runs at like 60 or 120. That's all I care about because I'm much more of the like response time action type gamer than necessarily looking at something for the graphics.
Hmm.
But now it's kind of getting to that point where like the 30 series cards are a big jump up compared to the 20 series. And I don't even have like a 2090 or anything. Like it's a 2060 super. So
Yeah.
it's good. Like it's fine. It's a fine card. But now you can, if I go online and look up my card, you can get them for like $350. Like
Oh fuck, I
they're
remember.
they're pretty cheap cards. I
Yeah,
don't need to be on the leading edge, but I do like to have something good, that's like a couple years future proofed. And with the 40 series coming out, a bunch of people who have 30 series cards are going to be buying the 40 series and then they're trying to get rid of their 30 series cards. There's a bunch of used cards that are flooding the market. There's
not
new
this
stuff that's
guy.
flooding the market. So
I think I got the 3080 in TI
3080 Ti, yeah.
TI in
Mhm.
mine, and I'm just this thing's sealed. This thing's not opening up anytime soon. So
yeah, I mean,
because like what was the difference from correct me if I'm wrong. So you went from the GTX the 10 up to the 1070s and 1080s,
Yeah.
and you jumped to the 20s, but there wasn't a big leap in actual processing. It was just more of the ray tracing support, correct?
No, there was a jump in the processing. So I think
Well, was there a bigger jump between the 10s to the 20s and then was from the 20s to the 30s, or
a bigger jump, I think, between 20s and 30s. Yeah.
yeah, I think
okay.
the 20s to 30s is a pretty significant
Yeah.
jump. Almost like 50% in some cases, I think.
It was pretty substantial. Well, I kind of like, so I bought a 2080 when the 2080 was new-ish. And it is nice just having like a set it and forget it kind of PC
Yep.
where you don't have to go in and fiddle
Mhm.
with a bunch of the settings. And most of the games run on ultra, and then you just know you're getting the best experience you can,
Yeah.
which is what I kind of like. Although you do have to turn RTX or ray tracing off on quite a few games if you want better frame rates.
Mhm.
I completely forgot. I've been playing Cyberpunk, and I forgot it had ray tracing on by default.
By default, yeah.
And
Oh man,
I could never get good frame rates in that game. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
the
And I think
frame rate
you
boost
actually
that I
said you
got,
turned it off.
I turned it off right away, and holy god, we jumped from like 35 FPS up to like 75 or 80. It was great. Oh, it's so good, and that's like what's kind of streaming too, right? So
Hmm.
for me, a lot of the time I play games for the first time, it's on stream, so I'm booting it up. I'm like walking around, like, oh, this is okay, but it could be better, Frame rate's a little bit wonky. It's kind of jumping back and forth between different rates and stuff, depending on the environment. So I was like, all right, let's go into the settings. I always hate doing this. Let's go into the settings. We'll turn some stuff down. It's gonna look bad, but it'll be fine. It'll run better. And then yeah, I was like kind of going through settings, and some people were like, oh, turn this off, turn that off. It doesn't make that much of a difference. And so I'm clicking through some things, turning things down to medium, turning things off. And then I go back and like, holy Jesus, it's like a different game running at like double the frame rate. It's so good. But yeah, that's what I mean. Seeing the demos for like the 40 series cards and like specifically Cyberpunk, and they're walking through an area of the map that I like know from my own experience is a particularly like intensive for like rendering and processing area. This like
Chunky.
market, it's got so much crap going on, and they're running it at like 140 FPS, and I'm like, with all the like the DLSS and all the ray tracing on and stuff, and I'm like, man, look at these puddles, look at these like characters. Holy crap, this looks great, and it's running at like triple my frame rate, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always nice, but it's not my like minimum requirement. I know people that are like, no, I have to have the best of the best, and if I have to drop 8K on a computer, then that's just what I got to do. And I'm like, I'm a little more patient than that. I
Yeah.
can I can wait. I don't have to have the best of the best. um but that being said, I am excited about getting a new card. uh it's always fun to get a shiny new thing. But
Plus, the graphics card has the most impact on gaming, right? So
mhm.
when you upgrade that, you'll notice it, right?
The thing for me in my situation is that my I built this computer 3 years ago, I think.
Oh my god.
3 years as of the summer, and it was built around that 2060 super
Mm-hmm.
card. So everything, the RAM, the PSU, even the motherboard, honestly, was like picked with this card in mind. So for me, getting a new card means upgrading other things too. I have to get a new power supply. I have to get, you know, um, more RAM. Probably, honestly, would be a realistic thing to do. So it's
Well,
more
Ryan always has
more than
extra
just getting a
RAM laying
card.
around that he can sell you.
Yeah, I'll just
I,
throw I think one stick of 4 gigs in from like 3 different brands. It'll
I
be a
wouldn't
good move, I
recommend
think.
that. I mean, you probably could if they're all the same clock speed and same, size, but it'd still be weird. Just visually, it would piss me off too.
I think I'm just gonna
Just
look
knowing you
up the
have mismatching RAM would just piss me off.
see. It's great because I have like that like panel to see inside my tower, but it's facing
Yeah.
the wall, so I don't have to like look in and,
Oh,
and see it.
okay.
It's just the way my current setup is. That's all. But
Yeah.
My PC, the one that we built back in, was it somewhere between March and May, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
It's right here on my right, so I see everything in it. And of course, the shell was white, so all my lights are white. But so if I leave this PC on at night for whatever reason, I go and turn off all the lights inside. But then for some reason, when I lock my computer, it by default turns the RAM lights back on. It's as it can't be locked because then it defaults back to the previous settings. So, but I have this 3080 Ti, and I have yet to actually really kind of push it on anything. I've not played anything too graphically intensive or have anything ray tracing. So I play mainly Dead Cells, Rogue Legacy, and
Vampire Survivors.
Vampire Survivors. Yeah, some Sea of Thieves.
That's
Sea of Thieves
3080
makes me.
Ti.
Yeah, yep.
Oh god, I'm sitting here trying to play Cyberpunk at a good frame rate with a
So
2060.
so then immediately to my that PC's on my top right. It's beside me, but then on my bottom left, and I still have to figure out. I'm probably going to change it over to like a Synology, but this thing here has the 6 hard drives in it, and it has a 1070 Ti, and that's strictly my Plex server. So I'll have to take that whole thing and migrate it because it should have a card in there to transcode video to send out. So that will have to get brought out as well. But what game should I test ray tracing on? I'm thinking Control.
Control
Minecraft.
is still, in my opinion, the best example of ray tracing. So that's definitely a good one. I hear that Minecraft is amazing. They
I
have ray
would.
tracing somehow.
Yeah, I won't be touching Minecraft.
I'm actually surprised that Sea of Thieves doesn't have it. I think that'd be a good candidate.
Oh, see it,
Yeah, that would be good.
yeah, it would be good because it is a very beautiful game. The water in that game is fucking phenomenal, but it does also just have its quirky bugs. So
Yeah.
What is the game that I've been playing that I had played relatively recently that I was absolutely flabbergasted by how good quality the lighting was? Why do I feel like it was something multiplayer? What was I? I cannot remember. It's definitely
Well,
something where it was like the lighting in this game should not be this good, but it's like filtering through trees and stuff like amazingly. That's gonna bug me now.
the problem, I guess, with the ray tracing is because it was so demanding on the graphics card, most users weren't using it, right? And so a lot of games haven't implemented it or spent the time to implement it well,
Mhm.
So there's
Just because
still
it's
not a
not
lot of
for the mass
games
market.
using it. Yeah. even though I think it's one of the best visual upgrades a game can have, because it makes the light and reflections look like real life,
Mm-hmm.
because
It is.
it's
It
literally
is.
acting like real life.
It's one of those things, right, where it's like every generation of games, you see that one game that's like really graphically nice, and we're like, wow, graphics will never get better than this, and then they
Mm-hmm.
do, and then some other technology comes out. But like, yeah, ray tracing is like you wouldn't necessarily think that lighting is what makes the difference between something with you know any given texture, the difference between it looking like it's in a video game and looking like it's photorealistic. But it's
Yeah,
that real time lighting that just makes things like look so insanely different.
and it mimics stuff you don't necessarily realize occurs in the real world. Like if there's like a green bowl sitting on your table, and there's a light source somewhere off to the side,
Mm-hmm.
it reflects a green light onto the table.
Yeah.
You might not notice it or take note of it because it's just how you've always seen the world.
Mm-hmm.
So when a video game does it, you kind of be like, oh my god, this looks like real life now,
Just looks like a
because
photograph. Yeah.
yeah, so it's really impressive, and particularly with like glass reflections, just seeing a person walk past like a I don't know, like a billboard on the street or something that has like a glass front or something, you know it's insane.
Video
Really
games
insane.
have made me aware of terminology referring to visuals that I otherwise would absolutely never have thought about or ever been exposed to. Like if someone said subsurface scattering to
Oh
you,
yeah.
or like ambient occlusion.
Yeah.
Subsurface, I think submarines. I feel like that's a submarine term.
Subsurface, yeah.
Yeah.
Subsurface scattering is when you have a fleet of multiple submarines that all scatter.
Scatter.
This word unlaunch, was that
Yeah.
their word or was that from the
No,
IGN article?
that's their word,
I believe that's their word. Yeah,
because they're
Oh,
going
yeah.
to relaunch it.
I hope that doesn't become a mainstream word that other companies adopt. We're
I
gonna
think
unlaunch this game from the Sony store. We're gonna unlaunch it. And
I
then
guess they didn't want to say canceled, right? Because like
Yeah.
they're technically canceling this launch. They're not unlaunching it because it hasn't launched yet,
but
Right.
they are
Yeah.
they are unlaunching it.
but they're unlaunching it, which just means they're canceling this launch with the intention of launching later.
Okay.
Well, here's what I think they're doing. Okay. So prices have gone up on these 40 series cards, which a lot of people have not taken kindly to. Right. $11.99 for the 4080. That's American.
Yeah. So
I bought my
1665.
2080. I bought my 2080 3 years ago for $1,000 Canadian. Right.
Mhm.
So
What
probably
did
would have been
I-
800 American.
Do you remember what I paid for this 38? I know I overbought. Like I know I overspent it.
1,500, I want to say.
I think that oh yeah, yes. I remember I did a calculation based on my monthly income. Yes, okay. Yes. I now I remember exactly how much I paid for it.
You overpaid compared to today, but at the time you got it like $1,000 cheaper.
Whew.
You know what I mean?
Really? I thought it was
Because
still
the prices just
the
a month
scalping.
before you bought it were insane, and they had just come down when you decided to buy it, right? So I wouldn't feel too bad about that.
So I
That's a
done
big
good.
difference
You
between
did good, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
then and now is that the market has really cooled off for GPUs because Bitcoin mining is not so
Tank.
much. Yeah, it's not quite as completely fucking bonkers as it used to be. So spending 1,500 back then versus spending 1,500 now is like that was a great deal back then, and now it's just like now it's the MSRP.
Mm-hmm. But here's what I think they're doing with this. So obviously, people they know the price is going to be too much to stomach for a lot of people, and so they said, how can we make a cheaper model but with the 4080 name, because that's like the one that a lot of mid-level gamers strive for. The 1080 was like the most popular, not the most popular in sales, but the one everyone wanted, right? Same with the 2080, the 3080. And so they have this 4080, but it's too expensive for most folks. And so I think they kind of maybe took the 4070 or 4060, rebranded it as the 4080. And that's why it's only 12 gigabytes and is missing those RT cores, tensor cores, whatever, And so I think they were just trying to put this cheaper card into the 4080 category to make gamers feel like they weren't missing out on the 4080 series.
Just so more
and it
people could say
backfired.
that, like, oh, I've got a 4080 too.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
it's like, okay, but do you have the 4080 or do you have the 4080?
yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. So I think that kind of hurt them. But anyway, we'll move on. Final story for the week. Valve registers mystery video game trademark for Neon Prime. And so my Jan, the name registered with the United States Patent and Trademark Office was noticed by Reddit user something, and appears before a video game or at least related software. That means despite Valve's recent success with hardware like the Steam Deck and the Index VR headset, this trademark appears to be game related. The trademark reads, quote, Neon Prime trademark registration is intended to cover the categories of computer game software, electronic game software, video game software, computer game programs downloadable via the internet, end quote. When I hear Neon Prime, I know it's probably just a code name or whatever. Maybe, I guess they're finally their trademark. Maybe is the name of the thing. I get cyberpunk vibes from this. Do you think it's possible they're making like a cyberpunk type of setting game?
It sounds like Cyberpunk Transformers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
But from Valve, yeah, I have no idea what Valve is doing because they've said, and I mean that in like a purely honest way. Like I do not know at any point what Valve is doing, and I think that's kind of their point. Like the
Yeah.
MO, because they've gone on record in the past as saying we only work on what we want to work on. Like obviously they're running Steam because they have an obligation to run this massive PC platform and it prints the money.
Yeah.
But as far as projects at the company, they don't have like people don't work in specific roles in game development. Like they don't have dedicated audio engineers or like visual designers or 3D modelers. They just have people at Valve that work on games and they work on what they want to work on. So if people are like, we want to make Left 4 Dead 3, then they would get a group of people to work on Left 4 Dead 3. And this guy would say, oh, okay, I can make music for this. And someone else would say, oh, okay, I can model zombies for this. And then they would just kind of do it at their own pace. And if not enough people jump on a project or not enough people want to work on something, then they might like work on it for a little bit. And then they go, we can't really do this in a reasonable amount of time. This is a waste of time. And they scrap the project.
Yeah.
So everyone knows that Valve doesn't have to be making software, namely video games. And like so if they do, then it's something that a good chunk of employees at the company want to be developing. So does this mean that, I mean, it does say it's a video game trademark, so it's potentially a new IP for software. They wouldn't codename it, I don't think, if it was. They wouldn't codename it Neon Prime if it was for an existing thing. Like this doesn't sound Half-Life. This doesn't sound Left 4 Dead. You know, it doesn't. It's realistically not hardware because they've been pretty open about the Steam Deck and what they're doing for the Steam Deck.
The trademark kind of makes it clear that it's for something software related.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying I don't know what Valve is doing. Because nobody, I don't know. You don't really have
what do you want Valve to do?
It's so enigmatic. I think that Valve has always made really good games. I've never played a Valve game and gone, damn, this actually is like way overhyped. Like this kind of sucks, actually. Like I thought that that's what it was going to be like for playing Half-Life. And then when I went back, I've never played Half-Life 1. I hadn't played Half-Life 2 until like maybe 5 years ago. And I was like, I've always had Half-Life in my like Steam library because I think I bought it as part of like a bundle or something. So it's just always been there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to install Half-Life. I'm just going to play it. I'm going to see what all the fuss is about. And like, it was genuinely just fun to play. Like, it's just one of those games where you sit down and play it and you're like, oh, I am actually having a lot of fun playing this. And then it's 3 hours later and you're like, holy shit, I should probably go make dinner. Like, it was just an enjoyable time. So like, Portal's amazing. Left 4 Dead's amazing. Valve has an incredibly good track record. But again, yeah, like it seems like they would only be working on something if they really wanted to be. As far as like what I would want from Valve, they seem to do really well with like narrative type games,
Mhm.
like games, I should say games that on the surface you don't have to pay attention to the story at all because the game's just fun on their own. Like Left 4 Dead, you can just play Left 4 Dead
Yeah.
forever, uh, and like not pay attention to the story at all. Portal as well is just a really solid game that you could just play, but the
Incredible game.
underlying themes and the characters, especially in Portal 2, are like so well done, like so finely crafted.
They're really good at sprinkling those character developments and that world building lore. Just they pace it really well in their environments. So you pick up on the little things, especially in Left 4 Dead or Portal, and even like Half-Life. But I've never played past the first Half-Life. I've never played Half-Life or Episode 1, Episode 2, or what's the VR one?
Alex.
I don't know if they're ever going to bring I don't know. I don't even know what gameplay looks like on it. I don't know if a non-VR would be possible without completely.
I don't think they would either.
Yeah. So because
it's to sell their index, right?
Yeah, it was specifically. How did they just they said the Half-Life games were every time they made a Half-Life game, it was to innovate on something new or groundbreaking in video gaming. And I guess then VR was the thing that said, okay, we'll use this to make another Half-Life. And I'm still I still can't quite believe that there is another Half-Life game. Like I at one point I thought like, oh, there's never yeah, it doesn't feel like it. It's like it's almost like a weird dream. Like I don't quite believe it. So I don't know what the next thing will be that will have to come out to push video gaming forward for them to say, okay, we will now make another Half-Life. So,
well, kind of in that same vein, I'm thinking, what if they made like a Valve or Steam Deck first type of game, something dedicated for the Steam Deck,
dedicated to pick up and play on the go.
Yeah,
15-minute chunks at a time kind of gaming.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Sort of like,
I don't know if that's exciting for people, but
maybe like a roguelite or something. I know it's a genre that's been played to death, but
yeah.
I mean, they really could do the formula that like any of the really popular Switch titles have followed. Like they could do an adventure game like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey. They could do Mario Kart style. Like it really could just be anything that you can pick up and play for 5 minutes or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because it would suit the Steam Deck, like you say, which is funny because that wouldn't necessarily be like capitalizing on some new innovation in gaming. Like portable gaming has been around forever, or at least for our memory, right? Our generation. But like you say, the Steam Deck doesn't do anything new, but it has kind of revolutionized portable gaming in that it's full PC releases of games portably.
It did what the PlayStation Portable and PS Vita couldn't do.
It does what Nintendo don't.
Nah.
Well, I'm just thinking because like obviously a lot of the games on the Steam Deck were PC first or console first and then ported to PC and then ported to the or given Steam Deck support. But I'm just thinking, what if they made a game optimized for the Steam Deck? I think that would be pretty fascinating because then it would run better than most of these Steam Deck capable PC games.
I think they do have a couple, right? Isn't there like a desk job simulator game or something that was Valve?
On the Steam Deck?
Yeah, they had a couple Steam Deck specific games.
It doesn't. That thing doesn't have any like AR support, does it? Doesn't have like a camera on the back you can hold up and look. Okay, I was gonna say maybe they could do some weird like Portal real life AR environment thing.
Oh God, that'd be crazy. Yeah. Man, I had like such high hopes for AR when like the 3DS and stuff started doing it. I was like, this is such a cool idea. And
I still have faith and hopes for AR. I just think that we need to maybe push it aside and maybe revisit it later, because AR still has practical use in the real world. My like cars have AR built into the windshield, so like even you're driving, if you're driving, you have like road information, like speed limit or whatever, it as an AR in front of you. So
like projecting on the windshield.
yeah. So it is there's stuff there to use it for. I just don't know if it might be gaming related.
Yeah, no, that's a good point actually, because like lots of companies are getting into AR that aren't necessarily gaming. Like Google has AR support now. I was just like searching things on my phone the other day, and it just had this little pop up like search for a tiger, and you can see how big it is in your living room. Like try it now, and so then you just search like tiger, and then it pulls up a Bengal tiger that you can then go to your camera and just like with AR project a Bengal tiger to get a sense of their scale and how big they are. And it's like, yeah, holy shit, tigers are actually freaking massive.
I think it's Porsche or Mercedes. I don't know which one it was, but it came with, because it was my sister's or my brother-in-law's car. But there's a traditional owner's manual, like a book one that you would get with it. But then there's also a AR app that if you wanted to, know something about the car, you AR it from like an iPad onto your thing, and then you can like click on different sections of it, and then it'll bring up information, and you can then go into it and figure out some stuff.
Like almost like a digital owner's manual kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But it ARs a model on your desk. So
that's crazy.
Even what was it? The 3DS was it that had AR cards? Like you throw those down.
Well, same with the Vita too.
I remember seeing the Mario. I think there's a Mario one that you had, like when you and Marty first got the 3DS.
Well, just Marty. I didn't have one.
Oh, you didn't have one? Yeah, I remember.
The Vita.
I remember being in the cellar at school, like that restaurant, and him like putting it on the table, and
yeah,
I was blown away. Was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember when the just on the topic of the 3DS, like having that 3D camera at the beginning. There were so many onboard games on the 3DS. I think there was one that was like headcopters or something, where it would like take a picture of your face, and then it would put your face on like a bunch of different helicopters that would go across the screen, and you had to like shoot them down. And it was just like the weirdest little gimmicky thing.
Yeah,
but it was just kind of goofy fun. Like that's what I always liked about the first party Nintendo stuff was just like the goofy little things that they would put on their hardware just to kind of show off the different gimmicks or the functionality of the system.
Yeah.
Which now is like some of those things, even if they are just kind of tech demos, are really fun in their own right. Like Astrobot on like the PS5 is a ton of fun.
Yeah. And I think that studio is getting like a full game now.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Even other products like that may not necessarily be used for gaming, but the Microsoft Kinect, for instance, it has a like a complete other life outside of gaming, that it is widely used. Like it is used in surveillance, because it can track in the dark. So people use it for that. They use it in fusing it with other sensors. They've been able to kind of increase its ability to track certain joint and muscle movements. So there are a lot of medical and scientific studies that use that. Or where was the other one? I had it up here. Researchers at University of Minnesota have used Kinect to measure a range of disorder symptoms in children, creating new ways of objective evaluation to detect such conditions as autism, attention deficit, and obsessive compulsive disorder.
Huh. So yeah, maybe it's not for gaming after all. It's just
yeah, it could be anything if it's just software based. Yeah,
that is fun. Like an interesting proposition. Like, what's the technology that exists that isn't for gaming but could have good gaming technical application?
But could have good gaming application.
Sorry, say that again.
Heartbeat sensor.
Well, that's already been done with like fitness games, right? But
I know, yeah.
But so like you said, Adriano, how like the Kinect was made for gaming, but now it's being used for medical applications. So what's like a technology that wasn't designed for gaming but could work really well if it was developed for a gaming purpose.
Okay, I'm gonna focus in on the medical field because I mainly deal with medical equipment and television. Okay, maybe something electrocardiograph related. So it's like the Wii U when you had the finger probe, which was your SpO2. It measures oxygen in your blood
Mm-hmm.
to get back health readings.
Right.
You can do maybe like a cardiograph thing where maybe it would probably adjust the game based on the speed of based on your heart rate.
Oh wait, yeah, I think now that you say that, I feel like there's a horror game that was either it was conceptualized or it was like in early access or something where it was like, yeah, you hook up a heartbeat sensor, like you wear a heartbeat monitor, and the more scared you get, the more like the faster your heartbeat starts going, like the more intense your surroundings start getting.
Yeah.
Like the music starts getting a little more like dramatic, and it gets louder, and sort of like your surroundings get more chaotic. I swear this was a thing,
I probably
but now I
probably
can't remember. But yeah, no, something like that, right? Like gaming
and
applications for
yeah, and it wouldn't take much. You really only need two things hooked up to you. You have either two of them across your chest or diagonally across your body, and that would pick up the signal pretty quickly.
I mean, these are the kinds of things that like the freaking nut job engineering students that are like, I need to make something as a project. They just like try to come up with some concept, and then they're big gamers, so they're just like, what can I do with my engineering knowledge in gaming? And you get things, you get videos online of that like Russian guy who hooks up the like hydraulics to his gaming desk and his monitor. So like every time something happens in the game, it like gives force feedback through the hydraulics on the desk. So he's playing like Red Dead and he's running on the horse and galloping, and the desk starts bouncing up and down as if he's on a horse.
That thing has the perfect cutaway, like the snap to black, because it starts rumbling, and because he has the camera in first person, you literally just see his hands in panic mode, and he goes down towards the power bar to pull the power out, and it cuts just as he's about to do it.
I love the one where it's like it's like quite subtle. Not super subtle, but it's like it's set to like minimum sensitivity, so the whole desk is going like gong, and then it kind of cuts and comes back, and he's like clearly cranked it up to like 11, so then he starts like running and then like trotting and then galloping, and by that point like the monitor's falling off the desk itself is falling apart. It's just like shitty wooden desk with these super powerful hydraulics going like and just like ripping his desk apart. Oh man, those are the best. And then there was that guy that made, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that game that's kind of recently come out called Trombone Champ, where it's like Guitar Hero but for a trombone. And people like trying to make custom controllers to play Trombone Champ like with an actual trombone. It's that kind of like mad scientist shit that is just like this is what I love about this subsect of YouTube, where people take stuff that was not meant for gaming and translate it to being gaming related somehow.
These are the people that you need to give proper resources to and say,
oh yeah,
and kind of just like have their motivations and their focus just tweak slightly. Say, put your effort into that, and let's see what comes out of that.
There was a joke on SNL about Trombone Champ that Michael Che on the Weekend Update said. He said that Trombone Champ is also the name of a very popular lady in my neighborhood.
Oh my god.
I haven't watched anything from the season yet. I haven't been able to click on any episodes for SNL.
All right.
There's one more thing. I will take, because I have seen a couple of them, and I know one's in storage at one of my hospitals, and then the other one I think is actually in use at a rehabilitation center. But they do have custom modded and developed video game systems with virtual with like the one that I know, the one at the one rehabilitation center that I work at sometimes. There's actually like 3 curved screens, and they do have a modified, I think it's an Xbox One in there, and they use 3D environments to help with movement.
Oh yeah.
I will try to look into that. And then because I know there's a smaller version of that in the basement at another hospital. I've seen it there. So it's cool when you can mix two different major industries together.
Yeah, it makes me like there's so many technologies out there that I have no idea about, but because gaming has just been such a like central part of my life for so long, it's just sort of the default lens that I look at stuff through sometimes. So it's like you see some sort of like, I don't know, training program that's been developed for like teaching people how to operate heavy machinery or something. And then of course I see that and I'll be like, man, that would make a great video game as like a, I don't know, backhoe or crane operator simulator or something, like that kind of thing.
Well, this is what makes me so angry when people kind of criticize like spending money on either like just the sciences or like NASA is particularly gets like criticized a lot. Why are we spending billions of dollars on NASA when we have like all these problems here and stuff? And it's like NASA has had so many spin-offs into other industries that have spawned multi-billion-dollar industries, like GPS. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uber would not exist if NASA had not, existed.
In the
And
first
so
place, yeah.
it's like people don't understand that you don't just design a new product and then it's good. It's like they need inspiration from elsewhere or discoveries made elsewhere that then filter into other industries that you wouldn't even think of before. It's like if you sat someone down and said, make a faster oven, right? They would only just make hotter, same types of ovens. They would never invent the microwave. You need someone investigating and looking at, the electromagnetic spectrum and figuring that out. And then someone has to say, I can use that to cook food faster,
who was it? Isaac Newton that said, if I've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants or something like that, right? Like we don't just develop amazing things right away. Everything that is developed or some breakthrough that happens is because of all of the advancements that came before it.
Mm-hmm.
So
you need discoveries in all fields because they all interact.
The television and by extension, the modern screen was invented by a farmer.
Right. Yeah.
Because as he was moving across the field from one corner to the other, he realized that it was changing. So he's like, oh, if we do this on like a
digital interface.
Yes, exactly. We could have moving. We could actually
moving
moving picture. But I think because like when was the TV actually invented? I think film was being projected on screens.
Projecting
it was being projected on screens.
An actual image.
So it wasn't scanning left or right. It was just moving.
But what was TV? 30s, 20s, 30s? Maybe even earlier, 1890s?
You mean like the first like digital screen?
Well, not
even
digital,
Siri,
right?
When was the television invented?
Yeah, it's gonna be early.
And listeners at home, please don't mind my Siri voice.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
September 1927.
1927,
right? Yeah. So,
all right.
And on that note,
what we're playing?
Yeah, Ryan. Why don't you start? What are you playing?
Whoa, you want me to start?
Yeah, man.
Flip the formula. I don't even know what to do now. I finished Titanfall 2.
Oh yes. Thank you for reminding me to mark that to be installed.
Yeah. Super quick too, if you're just looking for something.
Nice.
Like I don't know if you're planning to do it on stream, Tim, but you could probably finish it in 1 or 2 streams actually.
Oh geez. No, that's good though. You need those.
It's
sometimes.
pretty quick.
I wonder if I own that game already somewhere.
But I was impressed. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Adriano, don't know what you're gonna do because did you play the first game?
No.
And that's going to be really anymore, right?
Yeah, that's going to be a problem for me.
Oh no!
Because the campaign was built into the multiplayer.
Yeah.
But that second game, it was super fun. I wish it was longer, and I wish there was a sequel. But I definitely enjoyed my time with it.
Did you develop any emotional attachments to characters?
I mean, sure, but it wasn't like the biggest emotional attachment I've had in a game. But yes, yeah.
All right.
It was good.
I have 2 copies of it. I have
what?
A Titanfall 2.
Oh,
I have both for the PS4. I have a disc and a digital. But the digital is PS Plus, and I will be turning that off, so I won't have that.
I got it through Game Pass because I have Ultimate.
I also turned off my Game Pass.
You turned off Game Pass.
Yeah, I think I told you that already, didn't I?
Oh wow, no, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Um,
It was creating a problem because I wasn't playing anything because I was in this constant like cycle of I have other games that I own that I should be playing, like Red Dead, or I have this thing that I pay for monthly, and I play games so few and far between. I wasn't playing a game because I couldn't decide on what to play. So I'm like, I need to get rid of one of these. So I got rid of Game Pass.
okay.
Yeah.
And I restarted for the third time Cyberpunk. So I've been playing that again.
Hey, hell yeah.
And I think I'm gonna get through it this time because I actually want to sit down and play it, unlike the last two times I tried it.
Oh, you never
Playing
finished it?
No, because the first time it was like all the bugs and all the stories came
Mhm.
out,
On
and I
what
was like,
platform?
okay, I think I'll wait for the next gen version because at the time it just released on PS4,
Mhm.
right? Or PS4 Pro is where it played a little better.
You
And
were
then if you
playing on PS4?
no, because the PS5 was out at the time, right?
Oh, okay.
But you're playing the PS4 Pro version
Yep.
on the PS5.
Yeah.
And Aaron played it there and finished it, and he said it was fine. But I was just like, okay, I'll just wait for the next gen version to launch. And then I think they had that big update, what 1.5? And I was like, okay, maybe now is the time I'll play it. And I bought it on PC. I got it for like $30 on some site, something like that. And I tried playing it there and then just kind of fell off of it for whatever reason. But now that all this hype is back,
Mhm.
it's driving me to get back in. And yeah, it's been good. Been having a fun time.
Insane levels of hype. I'm getting like tons of videos recommended on YouTube now that have like millions of views that are recent about Cyberpunk. Like
Wow.
it's crazy how much it's come back.
Yeah. And now they got the sequels announced and stuff. And so it's like, okay, this is going to
Mhm.
be around for a while. I don't want to miss out and have to catch up, when the sequel's
Yep.
coming out.
Yep.
So might as well get in while it's hot. Other than that, I mean, just the regular Fortnite. Overwatch has been a lot of fun, even though despite all the issues that it had at launch, once you get into the game, it's enjoyable. We've had quite a bit of people playing actually, which is surprising.
Yeah.
We've had full teams playing and often winning too, which has been great.
We've had so many people
Woo.
playing that we actually had extra people and couldn't fill out. I ended up jumping out because I was going to bed and that allowed Matt to jump in. That's
Yeah,
how
that's
many of
right.
us have been playing.
That's that free to play, baby.
Yeah.
It
Allows
really
everyone
is.
in. Mm-hmm.
Really is.
Yeah.
I'm
So
hesitant to play it because then I won't play anything else.
Yeah, I'll be commenting on that when I get to my playlist.
well, I've been enjoying it. I definitely there are issues. They took away some maps. They took away two characters because they were broken currently.
Oh.
Well, they're going to bring him back. They have to.
They're bringing back those characters.
They,
Some of the maps aren't coming back,
mhm.
and some are. And so, just playing this, it doesn't feel that much different. And I think that's what's rubbing people the wrong way, is that it just feels like a small little update, and it's like, why was this so broken at launch? Why did this need a sequel? You know. Um, so there's that. But the new characters are fun. I've been really enjoying Kiriko, the new support healer,
I haven't
and
played as any of them.
Sojourn. I've been really enjoying too. So that's been fun.
I feel like that's the overall opinion is just that it's a huge disappointment.
Yeah. It took years. It took them 6 or 7 years to bring this out, and it's not that much different, and it's broken.
Yes.
So
I wouldn't say it's broken.
no, I haven't been seeing a lot of glitches, but I've been hearing people talking about running into a lot of glitches. Now, maybe that's the PC version. I don't know, but yeah, I haven't run into a lot of bugs. But the launch was a bit rocky. But that's, I mean, 25 million people apparently played it. So
Holy cow.
Whoa.
yeah. All right, that's it for me. Adriano, you want to go next?
So I have four things on my list, which is it's a record for me.
Almost.
I finally finished the main. I don't even know if I want to be very careful how I say this because it is spoilers. I finished Inscription.
Ooh. Okay.
And then you have an option of just starting a new game and just starting at the beginning, or saying a new game plus.
Yeah.
And what was loaded in for me, I was not expecting.
Hmm.
What was loaded in for you?
I don't want to say. I want people to just finish that game and then load it in again because it's not it's not weird in itself. When what they give you is familiar and reminiscent, and I'll hesitantly use the word nostalgic, but just the way, but it's so different from what the main game is. It's so weird that they would put this. I'm just gonna stop. Go finish the description and just load it up again yourself, and then. So I want to go back to that. I have been playing the Division with my board game group. We're trying to get through it before my PS Plus turns off, but I don't think we will. So I'll have to extend it on a monthly basis until we figure that shit out. So just running around New York, shooting cleaners. Were those the cleaners? Was that something from?
Right.
Yeah. I have been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves because me and my family members, we've been buying our ships and we've been naming them, and we've been having fun doing some cargo runs. I'm just trying to level up all the reputations. I bought my galleon, and it is named the Custodian Chronicle. And then I know what I want. I know how I want to dress my sloop, and I know how I want to dress my brigantine, and I know what I want to name them. And I'm really excited for that, but it will be a while before I get those two ships. So there's in the store, so you do need premium currency to buy these two sets. You can't grind your way to them. It's called New Sands, but it's a very Aladdin looking set. It has like the genie lamp on the front, and it has like the lamps on the sails. It pretty much looks like Aladdin without infringing copyright.
So towing that line of just tickling that.
So that is going to be my sloop, like my little tiny ship, and I'm going to name that. People who know Aladdin will know this. I want to call it Diamond in the Rough. That's going to be the name of that ship. And then
is there a character limit?
There is 20, and that's where my brigantine issue comes in, because there's another set that I want to buy, which is very vampiric. It's a vampire themed set. It has like a bat on the front. It has red sails. It has like crimson. You can do crimson or darker sails, but it's clearly Castlevania inspired.
And you want to call it a miserable little pile of secrets.
I wanted to call it Symphony of the Night. But it's one character too long.
Like 21 characters in it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh shit, how do I solve this? So I'll have to play around with that, but I might then just name it Simon's Quest. And then that might be that one. So it's gonna be it's gonna be a while before I get those ships. But
what about like Pile of Secrets? That would fit.
Yeah, I could.
Very Castlevania-y.
Yeah, I could do that. I'll have to I started looking at all the major titles of the Castlevania franchises and like notable references or things like that. So I'll have to. It's gonna be a while before I get my sloop, and I'm doing that first before I even get to the brigantine. So that'll probably be like another year or so. So I've been playing that, and then I've been playing Overwatch 2. And it is exactly as Ryan described. It is more Overwatch. It is fun when I'm in the game.
But there are the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So they have made some mostly positive changes to the characters. There are the changes they have made I am okay with. Some of them have actually been greatly beneficial. This has pretty much made Zarya my tank main, because before they made a very subtle change to her, but I find it to be much more approachable as a player, because she had a primary, secondary, and two different abilities, but as in the first game. But now, instead of doing those two different abilities, you can actually take both those abilities and just use them as one. Like, you have pretty much two shots, and you can apply to one ability or you can apply to the other one. And what that allows me to do is pretty much ignore the one ability, which was the complex part in the first game, and just use it strictly for the other one. So it's almost like it brought her down from like a complex character to a medium character. So I find her to be much more approachable.
Mm.
And I'm really glad because I always wanted to play as Zarya. I just could never really figure her out.
I have played so little Overwatch in my life, but I played it when it first came out on PC, when it was cheaper. It was like $40 instead of $60 or whatever.
Yeah.
And Zarya is actually the character that I played the most.
Yeah. So do you remember her abilities?
Vaguely.
So
very vaguely.
So her graviton beam is her main weapon. Whether you use the
Yeah.
primary or the secondary fire, her damage, the damage of that weapon is based on a percentage. It's from like 0 to 100, and you are supposed to bubble yourself and bubble your teammates constantly, so they get hit, and that damage then gets funneled into your gun. So if you're not actively protecting your teammates, your gun is not going to do damage. And what I found to be complex in the first game was I always had to make sure I had a teammate in the line of sight, and I always had to make sure that I was firing off that one of those abilities to protect somebody. But I also had to make sure that they were being fired upon, because if they're around a corner, whatever, and I bubble them, that's wasted because they're not taking damage to feed into my gun. And then the other ability was I can bubble myself to take damage. So what they did was in this game is you just have 2 shots, and they put it right by your reticle. You could see 2 little bubbles, and you can apply those to either one. You can apply it to 2 bubbles to yourself, or you can apply it to 2 bubbles to your teammate, or a combination thereof. And I found it to be way more approachable because it might sound selfish, but it allows me to ignore my teammates when it comes to powering up my gun. I can use it if I can see that they're in damage or they're in danger, and I can use it to protect them. But I can say, I will let the healers take care of you guys. I will use this to throw myself into the line of fire to get the power for my gun, and then to obviously fire back. And also because there's one less player and there's still 2 healers that have to happen, I'm not as worried about my 2 teammates, because there's pretty much the way I've been seeing it is there's one healer that kind of focuses on the tank, and then there's one healer that focuses on the 2 damage people. So I was hesitant about this 5v5, but it does seem to be more balanced. I think the 5v5 was a change for the good. I don't know if you agree with me on that, Ryan.
Sorry, say that again.
I had the 5v5 versus the 6v6. Do you think it's a change for the better or the worse?
Currently, I think it's for the better. I feel like the fights are a little more brawly and less just get dominated and wiped out instantly.
Yeah, I feel like we're spending more time on the field than in the spawn room.
Right.
So there's changes like that. They haven't done any changes to Zenyatta, but for some reason I'm finding myself playing more Zenyatta. So he's quickly becoming my main healer. And then I have not touched too much of the damage characters because, I queue up for all roles, so I pretty much get tank or healer.
Mm-hmm.
So the game itself feels like more Overwatch. It's disappointing that one mode is gone, but I'm also enjoying the new mode. I do like the Toronto map very much. So putting the game part aside, the battle pass, I decided to buy the Watch Point pack, which gave me the first battle pass season. And my rationale for this was I was prepared to buy this game at full retail because I intended on buying it at full retail. And when they changed it to free to play, they introduced this Watch Point pack. So I said, okay, well, I was going to buy this anyways. I'll buy this Watch Point pack once. It'll give me this first battle pass, and I'll see how this battle pass lifestyle goes, because I've never done a battle pass in Fortnite or Sea of Thieves or insert title here. Right? Yeah. And I want to see how consuming this is. And so far, this is pretty consuming. I find myself in my spare time, when when I can play anything, I find myself saying, I have this ticking clock for this battle pass. I have what is it, 80 levels?
80, yeah.
80 levels that I need to get through. I need to look at these challenges to try to combo these together to get multipliers so I can get through this thing as quickly as possible so I can retire this for the season. And then I can get my unlocks and then I can go play other things. But then it's going to reset in 60 days. And do I want to put myself through this constant grind of having to sign on, do homework,
Yep.
play
when it becomes a task?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so far, like, I'm not going to say I'm tired of it yet, but I see myself turning that corner.
It'll get old quickly.
Exactly. And
yeah.
I'm going to put as much effort. I'm going to try to enjoy this first season as much as possible because it is 60 days or something like that. But I find myself not even playing competitive. Like, I liked playing competitive the most in the first game, and I find myself not even playing competitive as much because I'm going to the challenges
Need
to
those
see
weeklies.
exactly to see how can I best combo these, and it's play in unranked, play in open queue, play in this. Okay, so then when I combo those together, it's like unranked, all queued roles, unranked makes the most sense. So it's like, okay, so I'm not even playing the competitive mode in which I do like to play, or the arcade modes in which I like to play. So it's because like I'm about to leave for the cottage I'm leaving tomorrow morning for 9 days. So I'm not gonna have my PlayStation or my PC to play Overwatch. So like tonight, after we get off, like I'm jumping on Overwatch to try to get as much of this battle pass through as possible. And it's like,
Man.
I hate that because part of me wants to play CSDs, a part of me wants to play Rogue Legacy, part of me wants to play Heroes of the Storm. Like I would sooner rather boot that up, but I find myself having to play Overwatch. So it's so far the battle pass system is not leaving a good taste in my mouth. And there is a battle pass system that I think correct me if I'm wrong, it's Halo that doesn't expire.
Halo, yeah.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite.
So if they even adopted that approach and I could just stack these indefinitely, that would be a different story. But
they don't want to do that though,
exactly.
because they want to have as many concurrent players at any given time as they can possibly have. They're literally designed to guilt you into playing their games because you feel like you're wasting your money or wasting your time if you're not playing these games that have a ticking clock on them.
Yeah.
It becomes an obligation. It becomes a chore. It's the fucking worst.
And it's funny because like I work to get rid of some subscriptions. It's I didn't want my PS Plus because I didn't want to feel obligated to play PS Plus titles or to play online just for the sake of playing online. I got rid of Xbox Game Pass because I didn't want to play games in which I didn't own because I wasn't playing games I did own. So I got rid of these, but then it's like I just turned on another 3-month long subscription where I'm now tied into the system. So, and this is only one, and I can't fathom. I don't know how many battle passes you guys have simultaneously juggled. If like
0.
Diablo, so you've never had more than one battle pass at any one time?
No.
Okay. What
I don't really play games that have them anyway.
Yeah. Diablo Immortal?
I don't play it anymore.
Ah, okay. Like Ryan, how many battle passes were you juggling at one point?
I think probably 3 at most. So it was like Fallout, Fortnite, and Diablo Immortal, or COD Mobile, but never at the same time. I don't think for those two.
Okay,
so like 3, I think max.
And I remember you saying that Fallout was pretty dependent on Matt, Marty, and like Laura. Like if they weren't playing that game, you probably wouldn't be playing that game, right?
Yeah, and so Marty and Matt have basically stopped playing. Laura still, kind of passively plays.
She's probably on right now.
And so I've stopped now. I've cut Fallout out.
Okay. And like, would you say the same thing about Fortnite? Like if Marty and Matt weren't playing Fortnite, or would you?
Oh yeah, I don't like playing Fortnite by myself. So if anyone, if the group ever like disbands on Fortnite, yeah, I'm done playing that game.
Okay, so then so two of yours are conditional, and then one is just.
And I've stopped doing Diablo, and I stopped doing COD Mobile just out of forcing myself to stop it because it was just all consuming.
Yeah.
Every time I sat down to even watch like an episode of Star Trek, it was like, oh, I gotta play Diablo Immortal while I'm watching to get the battle pass finished, and then
Yeah.
you've missed what's happening in the goddamn episode. So
And I haven't played. It's funny because I keep on getting Diablo Immortal notifications sent to my phone,
great
and I
noise though
haven't.
when it does.
Yeah, and I haven't opened the game in probably 3 weeks. But I just want to play that game for the sake of playing that game, so I can get through the story. Because I kind of want to replay Diablo 3 before Diablo 4 comes out. Because
I
this
played it again.
because this place takes
I
place
played again
between
too.
two. Yeah, this takes place between 2 and 3, right?
The
Like
Immortal
it's
does, yeah.
yeah, it's a 2.5. So yeah, I kind of want to replay 3 to get ready for 4. So I want to be playing this, but then I just haven't had a chance to open it. I guess because it still has it's not it's, it is Diablo. It just has that free to play battle pass cheapness or like
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't have that same level of like depth or like
exactly.
polish or yeah.
And I could just as easily play it on PC and treat it like a traditional Diablo game, but
Hmm.
the whole point of it was that I wanted it in my pocket
Yep.
to do that. So, but I am going to the cottage for 9 days, and I know that some people I'm going with are bringing their Switches, and we'll be bringing other video game stuff because we won't be playing board games for 9 days. So, I will try to play some Diablo Immortal while I'm up there. Then, but I also know that there's a long waited game that I've been waiting for, which is coming out while I'm up at the cottage.
Oh,
And I've talked about it before here, and it's fitting because I stopped playing Hearthstone last year when I was at the cottage. My last game was up there when I decided I don't want to do this anymore, and I stopped. And then 1 year later, while I'm up at the cottage, Marvel Snap is coming out. Marvel's free to play a deck building collectible card game.
oh God.
And I have been waiting for this, and I'm really excited to try it. So I will probably be picking up something else on a daily, weekly basis. So I hope that there isn't some sort of battle pass system in there because that will be a great deterrent. But that's Adriano's week.
Now
All
that I
right.
think about it, I think the only game that had like some sort of progression path in it to reward you and incentivize you for playing was Fall Guys. And even then I only really played that with friends. So like for me, the battle pass, season pass or whatever kind of unlocks were just sort of the cherry on top of like, oh, I'm playing the game anyway. Now I'm unlocking stuff. Cool. But it's like it's never been like, oh, I need to get back on and get up to level 65 so I can unlock this, character skin. Like there's never been anything in that game that has been a hard goal for me. It's always just sort of been like an extra on top.
Well, Tim, what have you been playing?
Yeah, as for myself, I mean, the last couple of weeks I've been playing Cyberpunk for the first time. I'm pretty much, I think I said this last week on the podcast that I am basically at the end of the story. I'm just going around and doing all the side stuff that I feel like doing before we finish off. That being said, I took 2 days off this week because we had stuff being done in the house that prevented me from being able to stream. And then today I streamed for about 2 hours and then my internet went out. So I didn't play that much Cyberpunk
Damn.
today. But yeah, aside from that, I've played, like I said, some Fall Guys. I'm always kind of playing Elden Ring passively. If I get like half hour before bed kind of thing, sometimes I'll boot it up on the Steam Deck and play a little bit of Elden Ring. I've been playing through another New Game Plus playthrough because while it's all well and good to like start a new file and then like run all around the world and try to get the things together for the build that you want to play, it's a whole lot easier if you just get it all in a playthrough and then start New Game Plus and then just like or before you go to start New Game Plus, just go to the part in the game where you can respec your character and just like rebuild your stats to
Oh yeah.
another build and then just like put all your stuff together and then start New Game Plus and then you can just play through with this new build. So I'm doing like a heavy shield, and like great hammer, very defensive style character build with like some incantations, some miracles for support, and like really heavily in summoning the spirit ashes, because I really didn't use a huge variety of the spirit ashes in Elden Ring in any playthrough before. I just kind of went with like what was known to be objectively really good and just kind of used them all the time. So I'm like trying things like summoning the one like wolf, or the kind of like the marauder sellsword guys, or the giant pumpkin head guy spirit, or a lot of the non-unique named summons, just to kind of see like what's good about them, what's bad about them. And honestly, like the strength of a lot of those basic or non-unique summon ashes is just the numbers. Like a lot of them are cool, where like you get the wolves at the beginning of Elden Ring when you first unlock like the summoning mechanic. And what's cool is like as you upgrade that spirit, it adds more and more wolves. So like I think it starts off with like 2, and then as you get it up to like level plus 3 or plus 4 or something, it adds a third wolf, and then at like 8 or 9 it adds a fourth wolf. And it's not the only one that does that. Like there are some where you get like a bunch of soldiers, or a bunch of rats, and it just like adds numbers as you keep leveling the spirit up. So that's kind of cool. I think it's kind of a mechanic that a lot of people who play the game didn't really take that much advantage of until they got the mimic tier ashes, and then just use mimic tier, or use black knife tish, or like Lutel the headless, like all these really iconic, well known to be pretty strong summons. But yeah, I think honestly I'm just going to kind of be passively playing Elden Ring forever until the DLC comes out.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many different ways to play it, and it's just such a massive world, and it's really great on the Steam Deck, because I can just, similarly to Breath of the Wild, I can just pick it up for 15 minutes and I can do a catacomb, or I can fight a world boss, or make a little progress through a legacy dungeon, and then that's kind of like it. Or I can sit down and play it for a couple hours. But yeah, like aside from that, mostly just like Cyberpunk, and I did a little bit of Fall Guys with some friends on Monday, and that was my week.
Nice. Cool. All right, that'll do it for us. Tim, where can people find you streaming the good games?
Yeah, as mentioned before, and as mentioned in previous podcasts, I stream 5 days a week, typically Monday to Fridays, on twitch.tv/the sidetrack. Play a lot of action games, RPGs. We tend to get distracted and go down tangents and do a lot of side stuff. That's my bag with these big open world games. And sometimes we take a break and we play shorter narrative driven games like Titanfall 2. But yeah, I've got a great lineup of other games that I really want to get to. I'm also really looking forward to Scorn as well, that like horror puzzle game.
God. Yeah.
That like really heavily like body horror game.
I can't
I don't know
that.
why.
Oh, man.
It's typically the kind of thing that like I would definitely be like, that's too weird for me. But for whatever reason, this game, it's like it's calling my name. I'm drawn to it for some reason. But yeah, I'm probably gonna play that sometime too. So yeah, like I said, twitch.tv/sidetrack Mondays to Fridays, and occasionally on Wednesday nights, twitch.tv/day1patch media, where we're playing, what is it called, Ryan?
State of Decay 2. I remember.
You remembered it.
I don't know what we'll be doing this week, because I think Matt might still be gone. Isn't he going on some big trip or something like that? But
maybe.
Yeah, we'll be there at some point. So
playing. Oh wait, yeah. I guess we'll have to play something, because it's Matt's save file for State of Decay, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll figure something out.
All right.
Wednesday nights.
For us. See ya.
See ya.
Peace.